Thank you, Lordship. That was incredible. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do right now is there'll be questions for the floor. I'll kick off by asking a few questions of His Lordship, and please start thinking about questions, and then you can ask them. Just to get some idea of who's in the audience. Any zoo archaeologists in the audience? Any ornithologists? Ornithologists? Mammalogists? Goodness. Wow, okay. Biologists? Must be more biologists then. Not everybody, I assume, is interested in history. Anybody who just likes nice furry animals in the jungle? And we're also going to talk about conservation. So, are all of you tree huggers? You all believe we should not cut down trees? Who thinks we should never cut down trees? Who thinks it's my tree? I can cut it down if I want to. That's a minority. Okay. So I just thought, you've been here for like 6 weeks, and you haven't spent all your time in PJ, but you have hardly spent any time going to book. Just tell us a little bit what you've been doing.
Okay, so some of you may know that in 2014 I was the recipient of the Merdeka Award for the non-Malaysian for a contribution to Malaysian society and culture, history, etc. And so that was $500,000, and I asked them how is this allocated spent. They said, oh well, we'll put it into your bank account. And so I decided that it should be spent principally in Malaysia. And since my original coming to Malaysia had been unplanned, unexpected, and unofficial through Tom Harrison, I hoped that I would be able to give some young people in their 20s a similar surprise. And there's two things that have happened. First of all, I think I have done that. But also, more exciting to me is that practically every one of my ventures has been met with local support and local people, and quite often with additional matching funding. And so I'm hoping to write this up quite soon, and I'm going to call it Merdeka Multiply, because I believe that the total value, even including my flights backwards and forwards, which are not cheap, because I've had DVD and I fly business class as a consequence. I believe that through cooperative and in kind, I've multiplied the Merdeka Award tremendously in the biology of this part of the world, and in stimulus to young academics and other people. So in the past 6 weeks, yes, and there's one other story. The flying doctor whose helicopter I showed you, Dr. Bolton, he died in 2006, and he left a considerable sum of money, which he left to his sister, he was 94, she was then 90. She's still alive, with the instructions that she could enjoy the income for her life, and then after her death it should go to a fund for the benefit of the Oriasli of this country, because he had been so intimately concerned with developing Oriasli strength and the coherence of the Oriasli as a community. I mean, to illustrate, for instance, one of my staff, in those days you didn't have Facebooks or anything, but he had a pen pal. And his pen pal was Mokhzani, and he was Samai. So they negotiated by letter. They agreed to meet, or rather to be in a cafe simultaneously, and their eyes met across the room. Remarkable story. Then her parents discovered and said this was disgusting. She could not marry somebody outside her own tribe, and his parents were equally furious, and they said, look, you're a decent Semai boy, we'll find you a nice Semai wife, and so on. But it continued, and in the end, the conniving auntie who had taken the girl to the coffee shop so they could see what each other looked like, smuggled him into her bedroom, and the following morning all hell broke loose, and he had to find out, forget what, a buffalo and a parrot and all sorts of things like that. But they got married, and it was a very successful marriage. So the point of backstory is that there was no coherence among orang asli, and Dr. Bolton created this by it had been General Templar's decision to use medicine as a weapon to safeguard the orang asli against the communist terrorists, and the orang asli hospital developed at the 12th March. And one of his first steps was to make sure that all the medical staff, as soon as possible, were orang asli, so that the orang asli people who came in met their own race and their own kind. And so he was instrumental in building up the coherence and the idea that orang asli now have, that they are the first people in Malaysia, and they are the first nation, as it were, and that they deserve more consideration than they get. And I can assure you, it's not easy being a protected person. It's a funny legal situation. And so what Dr. Bolton's sister decided to do was to split the bequest. And so she gave £1 million, which has been set up as a fund. The capital is offshore in Jersey, but the income comes to Malaysia. And so I am one of the trustees. And so we are dedicated to education, health, welfare, and community enterprise amongst orang asli around the country. So that was the first thing I did when I got here. We had a meeting of the trustees, and we decided again, we meet periodically to decide the way forward and decide what we're going to do. I then went to Sabah, where the Sabah Society, which is a cultural society based in Kota Kinabalu but reaching across the whole country, has been cooperating marvelously with me on the study of the megapode birds of Mokhzani Island. Mokhzani Island is offshore from Sabah, and the megapode birds are these extraordinary birds that bury their eggs in the ground rather than sitting on them in a nest. They are subject to theft by people. The Mokhzani Island has no pigs, no monkeys, occasional biawak, but with our photograph scheme we have seen the birds sort of shooing the monitor lizard away from the mound. The birds continue to guard the mound after they've laid the egg, but the egg itself is not has to hatch from the natural temperature of the soil. Then the baby bird has to wriggle its way up, sometimes for a meter or more depth, and come out. It is fully fledged when it comes out, and it can fly away. And as far as we know, there is no parental care. But there is an awful lot that we don't know about these birds. We do know that they are being hunted, and they are at great risk on Mokhzani Island. And so we are trying, the Sabah Society is trying to set up a sustainable management system, trying to encourage people to bring in birders to look at this interesting bird. And this is one of the Merdeka projects I'm supporting. So I went to Mokhzani, and then I went to Kuching, where there are other projects I am supporting, including a scholarship for a paleontologist, which again, I have put 100,000 of my Merdeka money into this, and this has been matched by Cambridge University and by St John's College, Cambridge, and then it's also been doubly matched by the Sarawak Museum. So here is a typical example whereby one of my initiatives has been picked up by other people, and I'm just so grateful for this because it is really reassuring to find these things happening. So that's the sort of thing that I've been doing before I come back here to various other.
And it's exhausting just to listen to you say this. But we were just talking earlier. You did an expedition in the jungle as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, this for me is the sort of, it's 60 years since I first came here. It's a sort of culminating thing, and I'm just trying to round up. So, with some old pals in Sarawak, whom I have been on this trek now for the 4th time, we trekked out to Tagora. Those of you who don't know about Tagora, this was where the Raja Brooks in the 19th century had their mercury mines from the cinema. And the relics that are there are quite extraordinary. There is the Dombong, the adit is the English word, leading into the hillside. There's a series of terraces where there obviously were buildings. And then down at the bottom is the furnace where the cinema was heated and the mercury given off. So this has all been taken over completely because this was abandoned by the Brooks in 21. It was reoccupied temporarily during the war by the Japanese who needed mercury for making detonators. But since then, it is completely reverted, and there are some huge trees now. And there's a very large trap tree, which is, I've got the Latin name, trap. People know what trap is, I hope. And wrapped in its roots is a diesel engine. Quite extraordinary. The cylinder has burst open. And then there is this enormous factory chimney, which is 15 meters tall, built square. We found some of the bricks, and some of the bricks have British trademarks on them. So the Brooks actually brought bricks from Britain to build their factory in what is now a 7-kilometer walk into the jungle. But there is an old track there. There was an old paved road which you can discern. So it's a most exciting place, and I really believe that if there's anyone here with Warisan instincts who can extend to Sarawak, because this is Warisan body, Malaysia, Pan-Malaysia, Spanish body. So this is a very important Warisan project, I believe, and one that a couple of people could benefit from because they could become guides and with a little bit of training could become tutors to people. I believe Japanese would like it because most of the machines have Japanese writing on them, and to see these large machines with the trees engulfing them is really astonishing. And this factory chimney, it's quite extraordinary. We missed it the first and second times we went there, and then suddenly we said, it's not a jungle time, it's a chimney. Yeah. So that was, I think they recognized it was my last trek. I needed someone. I walk very slowly now, and I needed someone to carry my pack. And so I've rounded off my jungle trekking, and so I've done various other things, and I think we're rounding up my time in Malaysia.
Thank you. Are there any questions? We will take one or two questions now. Or one question there.
It's actually in response to your question posed by you, I think, your pangolin, the giant pangolin. An idea which you may think of would really prompt you to seek further origins in the field. If you go south, about 10 degrees south of Rocky, in the eastern, you'll see these large grassy plains with some apples maybe 2-3 meters high. We're all scattered around this plain, full of termites, nice juicy things, but there is no way a pangolin could possibly break into one of those ones. You need to be a giant pangolin. You need to have claws this big to be able to get it.
I think you are exactly right, because I think that kind of climate is what prevailed in the Middle Pleistocene. And I have, in wider travels, I've seen these examples in Africa, in Uganda, for instance, where you have these huge nests, and where there are big pangolins there in Africa, and they do break into the nest. So I think you've come to exactly the same conclusions I have. So we could both congratulate each other on being right.
It was there when the sea level was down, and that breaking plain between Sarawak rather and Vietnam would have been peppered with these things on the dry planet. So if you want to get your kajak and try to keep the caves on the Vietnam side, you may find the cousins of those pangolins over there.
I say do.
And the other one is your Mokhzani Peninsula. In our defense, we went around the time. We didn't leave Africa 25,000 years ago.
Oh no.
No, it wasn't us, it was the Aboriginals on the way to Australia. They died.
Any other questions? Okay, one question here, then there'll be a chance to ask questions again.
Hi, thank you, Serena. Quick one, just a follow-up on the pangolin extinct. I just want to know your view. You mentioned that there was these giant pangolins a long time ago, and today, if you compare it to modern pangolins, it's quite tiny. Could it be, and I'm interested to know what you think, could it be that over time, it's not that they've gone suddenly extinct, but could it be that they've shrunk in size over time?
I can give you a zooarchaeological answer to that, as that we have the bones of both at the same date at the same time. So there were two species of pangolin coexisting in sort of 30,000+ years ago.
Thank you. Maybe we'll talk about Switzerland a little bit, because you were talking earlier about and the work you did on studying swiftlets in India cave. And you've since gone on to look at the kind of swiftlet industry you've got in Asia. And you were talking over lunch and you were saying that many species, one might be to colonize the other.
So, I sorted out the swiftlets and I was able to show that there are two white nest building species. One which is on islands, for instance, all the way around the coast of Vietnam, down the Thai, Malaysian coast to Pulau Perhentian, Pulau Brentang, and then in Sarawak on the Turtle Islands, and then in Sabah on the coastal islands, including Mokhzani. So that's one white nest species, which is distinguished by having a pale grey rump, and it's called the grey rump swiftlet. Inland, for instance, in the caves in Param, there is a another white nest building species, which has an all dark pack, no pale rump. The extraordinary thing is that in Peninsular Malaysia, there is no, apart from Pulau Perhentian, Rendang, that not down to Tioman, East Coast Islands, there is no inland colony of the dark-rumped white nest swiftlets. There are no wild white nest swiftlets in Sarawak. Around Ipoh, there's all those caves, and there are no wild swiftlet colonies there. And during my time in Malaysia, I was hunting in all sorts of caves. So, Peninsular Malaysia is rather peculiar. Whereas in Sabah and Sarawak, there is this interior dark-rumped white nest swiftlet. Now then, it come about 1995, 1998, suddenly there is a new kind of swiftlet. There is the house farm swiftlet. Now the house farm swiftlet is not like either of these. Externally, it looks different. It has a pale, rather shabby sort of grey rump. So it is not externally, and this is what attracted me first to the whole problem. It is not obviously either of these wild species. So how did it originate? Is it a natural cross? Is it some kind of evolutionary change? And this is where we are turning to genetics. And this is where my project, which is as an external researcher, I'm linked to UTA, the University of Rahman in Kampar, and my co-worker is Dr. Go Wei Lim, who's a very energetic lady. And also, I am linked to micropathology in the University of Warwick, which is actually a commercial genetic firm providing genetic services to medicines. So UTA has provided manpower. I've provided some field expenses and so on for the UTA team. But micropathology, again, is more than doubled up with gifts and training. We have managed to send one of the students from University of Malaya, who is studying swiftlets and swallows in one of my projects. He went to Warwick University to look at the procedures for modern complete DNA survey, and he, I think, was greatly benefited from 6 weeks training at the University of Warwick. And he got married yesterday, so he's thinking about other things. But that was altogether a very, very satisfactory arrangement. And then the same guy and another one I had taken to a conference in Lombok, just to give them a surprise. I was so thankful I have with them, because Lombok chose to blow up, and so Lombok airport was closed, so we took the bus and the ferry to Bali. Bali airport was closed, so we took the bus and the ferry to the mainland, and then the bus to Surabaya, and after 22 hours of busing and ferrying, all the time with them watching on their little gadgets, find out where their airspace was open. We finally got to Surabaya where we could get home. So together we had a very good symbiotic arrangement, but those two guys I think enjoyed their trip to Lombok. We did some bird watching together and so on, so that's another very satisfactory project. But the great question now is, what are these birds that are being so successfully farmed in the house farms? We are looking into their genetic background, and already we are finding differences between the wild birds and these domestic birds. From the preliminary study with looking at their mitochondrial genes, it seems that there are possibly two mitochondrial groups, okay? One of which shows more affinity with the white rump swiftlets, and one of which shows more dark rump swiftlets. So there's a possibility that there may have been a natural cross, and so nature has been conducting genetic experiments, and has produced this new kind of bird. Certainly, it is very vigorous. It shows great hybrid vigor. But the thing that disappoints me is that the bird's nest farmers of this country are extremely reclusive. They don't like people going to their houses. They don't like sharing information. They each of them have their own secret ways. And they are extraordinarily ignorant. So here we have an animal which is being domesticated, which is producing a great profit for them. Many of them are pretty rich. It is declining, so it's at Charon, the population is declining, and it seems what happens is that there's an invasion, there's a boost, and then there's a gradual decline, and so they need to move on. But they have, I've given, I suppose, half a dozen or more lectures, sometimes translated into Chinese as I speak, to people just to say that I really think that they should set up some kind of research foundation of their own to look into this. The veterinary department, with respect, if there's anyone here from the veterinary department, put their hand up quickly. The veterinary department produced a manual on swiftlets farming. And with respect, as far as I can see, they had a chicken manual and they just crossed out the word chicken. Put in swiftlets and everything. It's full of sensible recommendations, but none of which is related to an experimental base. I did give a lot of talk. I offered to assist in designing experimental base, but then I was told I was trying to steal the results, and I was banned by the Federal Veterinary Department. So there you are. But so I'm doing it on my own, and we will come up with a genetic explanation of what these birds are, which I think will be scientifically very interesting. I am not certain how it will be applied biologically, but Dr. Go-Wei Lim has got a marvelous imagination, and she's thinking of all sorts of other things that need to be done, and these people ought to be doing. And she's thinking now of, she has actually applied for a grant to get tiny transponders that she can put on the backs of these birds, because nobody knows where they feed. The assumption is that they feed over forests. You cut down the forest, you reduce the number of swiftlets. So the swiftlet population at Ner has declined fundamentally since Ner is now surrounded with oil palm instead of forest, except for the immediate forest reserve of Ner. And oil palm does not produce anything that is useful for swiftlets. We don't know how far they fly, we don't know. The experiments that we're doing in Benton will begin to show us what they are eating. But Dr. Go-Wei Lim is thinking of trying to put these transponders to find out where they go, where they fly. All these sorts of things is, in my view, what a sensible bird's nest industry would be doing in order to promote its own interests and to safeguard its own resource. But so far this hasn't happened. Maybe because I can talk.
I'm not sure. So hang on, this species that just mutated and suddenly exists.
All hybridized.
Okay, this is the Heritage History Club, so maybe we just talk a little bit about what it was like being flower in the 50s and Charon in the 60s. So I understand that you leave Cambridge and you pay £100 something ticket for it, and you turn up to kid with no friends and just turned up.
Well, I was invited by Mr. Harrison.
Sorry, I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, who was it?
Mr. Harrison, I owe him a great deal because he set my foot on the two paths, which after 60 years are still intriguing me and interesting me. He was a very dynamic man. He was a tempestuous man. He was a man who had he had a predilection for other people's lives, which is perhaps didn't involve me at all, luckily. Otherwise, we have a witness here how it did happen. But he made the Sarawak Museum into something of international importance. And he put the Sarawak Museum on the map. He promoted an enormous amount of research. As a result of the research that he promoted, there is a bird book, the Sydney's first bird book of Sarawak. There is this enormous archive of zooarchaeological remains, and not only zooarchaeological remains, it's an enormous archive of material remains, potsherds, beads, tools, sewn tools, and so on, in the Sarawak Museum. This has latterly been the subject of a 2000-2004 Near-Caves program, which was funded by the UK Archaeological Research Fund, and has produced one volume so far, which is really exciting, and then the technical volume is going to follow, I think, fairly soon. So this will be a really important subject, but unfortunately, there was no one available in the Sarawak Museum to play a positive part in all this re-excavation, and the staffing issue there is such that zooarchaeology, actually archaeology, historic archaeology, given the archive they have, has been given rather a low priority. And I think that this is an archive of great national, certainly state importance to Sarawak, and therefore national importance to Malaysia. It would be marvellous to see more work done on it, and the value of this collection firmly established. And that would be Harrison's heritage. He himself was tragically killed with his 4th wife, I think, in Bangkok in 1976 with a horrible road accident. So he never completed his studies. And he was also actually persona non grata in Sarawak for various reasons.
Thank you. Any questions for Cranbrook?
Saleh, get on, congratulations on a wonderful talk. My question is very simple. We have been fighting in Malaysia to establish a National History Museum. What are your thoughts on having one? We have yet to have one in Malaysia.
What I heard recently was that Binapuri is going to create a national museum in Putrajaya. That the deal has been done, and there's 230 million available to build this museum, and that it will be there by 2019. And I've heard all these things in a lecture just the other day, given in Sarawak, and I'm not able to verify myself. But this seems to be something completely different to the previous exercise, Tansri, on the museum, which some of your staff, some of the Fringe staff were involved with, where they produced a big book on plans for the museum, which doesn't seem to have materialized. But they faced up to the problem, which I think is a very real problem, that you cannot now go around and start a natural history museum if it is going to be based on new collections. You cannot have an army of people going out and shooting the last birds and the last Ulysses and the last stamp, just in order to see them in the museum. That was the old style collection. And when they heard there was only one Sumatran rhino, or one Java rhinoceros left in Malaya, they went out a huge expedition to go shoot it. That's not the way to go about it. So I thought that the previous people had the right idea, because as far as I understood it, they were going to consolidate all the natural history collections that existed in museums. They were going to provide training and curation training, and they were going to have, as it were, a digital coordinator. And gradually they were going to acquire collections when they ceased to be wanted by their contributing museums. So all I have heard is what I told you just now, and I only heard it at a lecture given 4 or 5 days ago, by somebody who seemed to know what she was talking about. So that, if I understand it right, there will at least be the shell of a natural history museum in Putrajaya in 2019. But what will be inside it, I have no idea. And I have no idea on who is going to organize what will be inside it. And a museum that doesn't have a big collection, doesn't have the facilities to study, it's not a museum. So, you ought to know more than me about these things in your position. I'm retired, but I keep listening.
A little bit
Okay, bye-bye.
Good journey.
Yes, thank you for coming. Yeah.
And thank you for inviting us. I leave here my relationship with Malaysia and down from Colombia service until now.
Yeah, longer than me.
I wish I had the time to give you a lecture. Anyway, very interesting. It's also inspiring in the context of those problems. Yeah, this way, or we can go out here. Thank you.
So we are talking about history, but could we talk about fossils?
I could talk about fossils, but I mean, life has changed so much. In Sarawak, when I went to Sarawak in '56, there was 34 miles of road. The road had got from Kuching just past Syria, and that was all. And we went everywhere by boat. You went out to sea, and then up the next river, and then you went as far as you could in a big boat, and then the boats got smaller as we went upriver. So the rivers were absolutely vitally important. District officers' wives were forbidden to travel in the Lada season, so from November to April, their husbands went out on their own on these boat trips, while the ladies stayed at home watching the rain fall down. I did a marvelous walk when I walked from the Nia across to the Suai, walked up to the Ulu Suai, walked across a sort of Panarika where they said they had dragged boats, came down on the tributary of the Tinja, and then sat on the banks of the Tinja until a boat came by and then hitched a lift down to Mokhzani. Now you could do the whole thing in an afternoon in a bus nowadays. But that was Sarawak life in those days. You went by boat and you walked.
How long did it take to get to the Nia Caves?
To get to Nia Caves was really exciting. Nia Caves, we took the big boat from Kuching. Well, there's two ways. I got to Nia in various ways, but on the occasion, and then it anchored off Kuala Nia. Big boat, like this. And out from Kuala Nia comes a little boat, like this. And you hold your nose and you jump. From the big boat to the little boat at the right moment. And then you went ashore. That was very exciting. Then the other time, Tom Harrison had asked me to excavate some of the skeletons and to bring them back to Kuching. So I had to take a coastal steamer, which was these little boats with truck, a superstructure on the top that you just lay down on the boards which were over the hold and went to sleep. and the wind blew, and the wind blew, and the waves back, we were being blown backwards. And my companion said to me, for God's sake, don't let anyone on the ship know what's in that box, because they will throw us and it overboard. Because we had skeletons, you see, human skeletons in the box. So that was a very slow journey from here to Vili. But, you know.
Oh my goodness. So there was no, what's in the so talk about fossils a bit. So we've been looking at animal fossils, which is your archaeology, and you've also found fossils of human beings, modern man, going back as far as 55,000.
That wasn't me who found it, but that's true. That's what they found in here.
And can you just explain what's the thing about Sunderland? So you were saying earlier that once upon a time we're all joined up. Malaysia, Sumatra, Jakarta, Java, Borneo, we're all joined up, and the animals too, they're all joined up. So how did man come to do all this?
I'm a zooarchaeologist. Zoos means animal. I do not touch these sensitive subjects of anthropology, because people can get very heated over that. And we've already seen that there are different anthropological opinions appearing about who came here first. But what certainly happened was, like I said, that during the Ice Age, at the peak of it, at about 23,000 to 18,000 years ago, the global temperature was 5 degrees lower, so that in Kuala Lumpur it would have enjoyed a climate cooler than Fraser's Hill. And there must, again, Tantri Sani may have opinions on this, but the forest, from what we know, the forest was different. The pollengrams, again, this is not my subject, but the pollengrams show an excess of conifers, and they show quite a different kind of forest. And so, like we were saying, it might have been a forest that would have been a lot drier and would have had big termite area in it. So that is what we deduce from the known climate change. And we know that when the sea level is 120 meters lower, you just look at the contours at the bottom of the South China Sea, there are some very big brown river courses going out. But Sunderland was periodically, and only periodically, united into one land. Most of the time, Sunderland would have been separated by huge great marsh and low mudflats and things like that. So it was only at the peak of the ice ages, and there have probably been at least 3 ice ages since the beginning of the Pleistocene. It was only the peak of the cold period that Sunderland was a serious landmass. And so the fact that there was periodic joining of the land masses has not prevented the development of separate species of orangutan, for instance, in Sumatra, has not prevented the fact that a very large proportion of the mammals of Borneo are in fact endemic and restricted to Borneo. Although they show influence from Asia, Borneo has been sufficiently isolated so that separate species have developed there. So the concept of the Sunderland fauna is a unitary origin, but a considerable diversity during probably the last few million years. Some of these species will be at least 1 million years old. Some of the species that we have found, like the pigs, for instance, we don't detect any change in the teeth of the wild pigs, although we do see singular changes in the teeth of the domestic pigs in history, in archaeology.
So pigs were the main diet in Borneo 20,000 years ago, 30,000.
Pigs seem to have been, in the oldest period, the middle of Pleistocene, which was when the dry climate had not yet begun to prevail. Pigs were but they then evidently developed some kind of armature that allowed them to shoot monkeys. And monkeys became very important indeed in their diet. And monkey bones became a very important material for making tools. And they made all sorts of tools from monkey bones, including slivers of bone, which are about so long and sharp at both ends. What were these for? The most exciting discovery, again not made by me, but made by the guys who were on the 2000-2004 decade project, was they discovered a lot of catfish spines. And these catfish spines still had damar on the face, a gum to show that they had been hafted. And so some of these spines were broken as if they had been buried in flesh and cut out of the flesh. So these catfish spines were the tip. They had been attached to a stick, and they were the tip of some kind of armature, which presumably was either thrown, possibly using a bow, although there's no evidence of bow technology in Borneo nowadays. But in my view, the catfish spine is a very slender thing. You couldn't possibly kill a pig or a monkey with a catfish spine unless it is loaded with poison. And so my conclusion is that about 14, as much as certainly 8,000 years ago, and possibly as much as 14,000 years ago, they had already developed the eco technology, the technology of poison-tipped darts. Because nowadays you can kill a pig with a dart, and you can kill a monkey with a dart, and I've seen that happening. And so I think that technology is very old indeed, and so they were clever people.
And did you do the same work in the peninsula, or?
The only archaeology I've done in the peninsula was up in Shida, where we investigated a cave which was full of Buddhist tablets, but there was nothing to be. I was looking for the animal remains.
Okay. Lord Cranbrook, you mentioned earlier on about the appearance of the tiger in the fossil record in Borneo, but it's disappeared now. What are your thoughts about how the reasons for this beginning?
So I am convinced by the specimens that we have discovered, or other people have discovered, that we have sufficient evidence. We have a canine tooth of a juvenile. We have the wrist bone of an adult from Madai Cave in Sabah, which is not identified by me, but by a man called Dr. Harrison, who is a respectable American archaeologist. And then we have the single foot bone, which I showed you a picture of, which is identified by Dr. Philip Piper and myself, Piper Townsend in the Natural History Museum. So we have tiger. We have tiger in the superficial. Harrison was in a hurry when he dug near cave to start off with. He wanted to get down. He thought he might find ancient man. He wanted to have something that he could take to the world and show what was going on. So he was in a great hurry. And he dug the most enormous trenches, quite often a foot at a time, and quite often 10, 15, 20 feet long and 5 or 6 feet wide. And so all the stuff in that trench would get mixed up. So the tiger bone has a date range of within the 12 inches of 4,000 to yesterday. Well, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. We can't exactly say, except that the tiger was certainly hit in Borneo less than 4,000 years ago. And it is a total mystery to me why the tiger disappeared. One of the supportive arguments for the fact that there was a tiger in Sarawak is that only the Iban, who are newcomers to Sarawak, they only came into Sarawak in the early 19th century, they have a word Iban, which is like Charon, shortened in the usual, with excuses to Iban, usual rather vulgar way that they have for adapting the language. But the other languages, and particularly the Orangulu or the Baram, so they have separate words for tiger, as if the tiger was something. They didn't learn the word for tiger from Malays, as if it was something that was genuine in their lives. So it is a real mystery here, but I'm convinced by those 3 specimens that there were tigers in Borneo.
During your time in Sarawak, you went all over Sarawak to do research. Did you have a chance to go to the Cranbrook Islands? Any historical significance in the area?
Well, of course, when I arrived in Sarawak, right at the beginning, Tom Harrison's favourite restaurant was Ann Lee. which is still there, although it's now in different hands. And he used to eat bouillon pie in the Andy restaurant. So he invited me very early on. We had Chinese crab omelette in this restaurant, and beside it was a large man with holes in his ears and a lot of teeth. And he said, "This is Lian, and he is your bodyguard." And Lian was a Galactic, and I learned an enormous amount of field lore from him. And I got to know Lian's family very well. And then Lian's younger half-brother was the only non-Iban in the Sarawak Rangers. He was a signaller. And I found him in Johor once, when I was travelling through Johor, and I saw the Sangawai, which is partly Iban. And so I went to see what was happening. And so he became my field assistant. So through those connections, I got to the great prince, and I have visited Bali. There is a museum there now, and the interesting thing is that Tom Harrison's relation with the Kalabits was very strong indeed, and you may have read his book. He is remembered there with great affection, and he is actually a historic figure for the Kalabit people. So I do know the place, and I do know, I have quite a lot of Kalabit friends, if that's enough for you.
To what extent were you influenced by Alfred Russel and how do you think his legacy should be maintained?
So the beard I wore at the beginning of this lecture, before it felt too itchy, was the beard I play when I am acting the old Russell Wallace. I have just completed a film, but it's not about Wallace, it's about Ali. Ali, who was Wallace's attendant. We've been making an amateur video in Sarawak and in Indonesia about Ali. But Wallace's book, everyone ought to read, really, because it is still the most marvellous travel book of this region. And so I arrived in Sarawak 100 years after Wallace, and I had his book with me, and I read it. I was in Java in 1960, again 100 years after Wallace. And Wallace, speaking of what was then called Batavia and is now Jakarta, he said that the so-called canals are actually filthy, and that the civil servants all go home for a long lunch at 12 o'clock and don't reappear till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is exceedingly difficult for the traveller, and the price of hansom cabs is exorbitant. And so, 100 years later, I found the canals were still absolutely filthy. I found the civil servants still took 2 hours off for lunch, and I couldn't possibly afford a taxi. And I did, in the end, when I got to New Guinea 100 years after Wallace, I did manage to climb a tree in which birds of paradise were exhibiting. So I saw the Rugiana, the red bird of paradise, bowing, spinning out all his ears. That was the most incredible experience that has always remained in my mind.
Thank you. Manoj, any final words, anything more you'd like to say to
I just hope that I didn't know what this meeting was going to be about, and so I thought I would just share reminiscences and so on. And are we now going to have a discussion, or have we had the discussion?
I think we're going to wrap this.
Yeah. So it's been a great pleasure to be able to reminisce in front of you. Nobody has so far said anything rude about me, although you may be muttering into your beards, those of you who still have beards. So thank you for giving me an entertaining hour. Thank you for the pleasure of meeting you, and to your friends with whom we shared a really delicious lunch. And so for me this has been a pleasant occasion. I mean, old men quite like to ramble on, and my grandchildren get impatient, and so thank you for being substitute grandchildren.